So I think most of us can agree that YouTube is one of, if not the best websites on the internet, with a virtually infinite amount of absolutely top-notch 5-hour video essays on some random piece of media you've never heard of. But sometimes you don't want all that. Sometimes you just want to watch something that's just short and entertaining, but don't want to go on TikTok because that shit ruins your fucking day. In that case, one of the types of videos you might want to watch is the types of kids in high school videos, with YouTubers like G-Grimy, OneCloud9, and Birdie making funny, relatable videos about the different shenanigans one would encounter in high academia. Well, I've been watching these types of videos for a while now, and today I've decided to make a video on the types of kids and types of kids in high school. Let's go! So first off, by far the most mentioned stereotype is the nerd/teacher's pet, which I personally count as basically the same stereotype. Now, when covering these types of kids, the guy making the video will almost always say one thing, that they remind the teacher about the homework when they forget about it. They'll also mention that they focus on school a lot and are really smug about it, meet the teacher a lot, and are generally hated by almost everyone. Sometimes, however, they'll mention how not all smart kids are little shits, and that some smart kids should chill in their own little corners and study. Those would be the chill smart kids. They're like the nerds, but they aren't smug or remind the teacher about the goddamn homework. They also generally keep to themselves, actually have a social life, and sometimes help out with their friends' homework. Sometimes they're also described as actually being the overwhelming majority of all smart kids. Up next, the menaces. When talking about these kids, the person making the video will, most of the time, mention how they either listen to NBA YoungBoy, wear black Air Forces, or both. They start fights all the time and go to the principal's office all the time because of it, are generally dickheads to everyone, and are said to be future prison convicts. I don't remember where I've heard this before, but I remember one of these YouTubers said that one of these kids set a fucking trash can on fire once. This type of shit really makes me question where the fuck some of these YouTubers grew up, honestly. Up next, the lazy kids. These kids come in two forms. First, there's the kids who spend the vast majority of their time in class sleeping, and that's pretty much it. It feels like I should have something more to say right now, like they play on their phones in class, or don't do their homework, or something, but I don't remember many YouTubers mentioning anything other than the fact they sleep in class a lot. There's also the kids who just straight up skip class most of the time, and the same thing can be said about them. Moving on. You'd think the last school stereotype, if anything, would get shit grades, but this next one, the Matrix glitch, actually does the opposite. They get decent grades while barely even trying. Now, I don't see this stereotype mentioned often, but when I do, they're just the lazy kids, but their grades actually get brought up. Also, G-Grimy has a pretty large hate boner on them for some reason.
They usually say don't hate the player, hate the game, but fuck that. These niggas get a 4 out of 10. Glitchy ass motherfuckers.
Up next, the class clown. Class clowns, along with jocks and nerds, are one of the classic school stereotypes seen in Hollywood movies since, I don't know, the 80s or something? Anyway, within said movies, they're portrayed as one of the best parts about school, with them being one of the only breaks from the purgatory known as school. However, in modern school stereotype videos, anti-class clown sentiment is being echoed louder and louder. Some say they're hit or miss, some say they got less funny over time, some just say they aren't funny. Sometimes the guy making the video will even point out the high amount of stress they cause to the teacher, which probably means a lot since these YouTubers, and just school children in general, are one of the last people to defend teachers. However, some will still talk about them positively, saying that they are really good at roasting everyone, among other things. Anyway, I've been yapping on about these for way too long, so chop chop, I still have like 10 other stereotypes to go over. Sometimes the unfunny class clowns are referred to by a different name, those being the band kids. The first thing you have to know about the band kids is that, despite what the name might suggest, they don't actually have any interest in music, and if they do, it's completely unrelated to them being considered the band kid. Aside from that, they're just wannabe class clowns that are extremely unfunny. I wouldn't make a joke about how they T-pose around a Bluetooth speaker that's blasting the Soviet anthem or something, but the YouTubers don't really mention that, so I won't either. Next, the NPCs. The NPCs are just your average everyday school kids. They don't really stick out very much and just mind their own business. As a result, I don't really have much to say about them, other than the fact that they usually appear at the end of the video. Moving on. Next, we have the weird kids. Typically, the weird kids are simply stereotypical anime fans. Sometimes the YouTubers will mention how they're into anime and are normal, or how normal anime fans don't claim them, but they'll still take minor jabs at anime and or anime fans. There's also a different type of weird kids that I'm not gonna talk about until the end of the video. Moving on. Up next, we got the stoners/vapors. These kids will usually be hanging out in the bathroom and either smoking weed or vaping, but never both at the same time. When talking about the stoners, the guy making the videos will, most of the time, stay neutral on them, saying that they just sit in the back of class, zooted out of their minds. Some of them will even say that they're kinda chill, and by some of them, I mean one Cloud9.
Now, I've always been cool with the regular stoners. They cool, they chill. You really can't get mad at a stoner.
Vapors, on the other hand, will usually be made fun of a lot more. They'll be called fiends, they'll be called crackheads, they'll be called out for peer pressuring, and will just generally be described as annoying douchebags, despite the fact that if the video is animated, there's about a 90% chance that one of these kids is the one making the video.
And next, we got the other dudes who touch grass, the stoners. Why are you looking at me?
Okay, so for this video, I watched a bunch of school stereotype videos. I've kept a tally of how much a specific stereotype has been mentioned. This whole video, I've been going roughly from most to least mentioned stereotypes, unless I had an idea to smoothly transition between a more talked about stereotype and a less talked about one. Now, I could proudly say that we've officially gone over all of the most talked about school stereotypes, and now we're sort of getting into the middle tier of stereotypes in terms of how much they're talked about. A lot of very surprising stereotypes will end up in this tier, of ones I thought would be the most mentioned, actually ending up here, starting off with perhaps the most surprising of all, the hot Cheeto girls. Oh my god! Before I started making this video, I thought that the hot Cheeto girls were an absolute staple of YouTube school stereotype videos, but apparently they're barely even mentioned. When they are mentioned, however, they're mentioned by one of the big dogs in the YouTube school stereotype community, i.e. G Grimy and OneCloud9. When it comes to actually describing hot Cheeto girls, though, they're said to be spending most of their time around a posse of other hot Cheeto girls. They're also loud, arrogant, communicate by shouting, and are generally annoying. Next up, we got the jocks. The jocks are a lot like the nerds, only they're assholes about being good at sports instead of being good at studying, don't take right the teacher, and usually hang out around a posse of other jocks. A decent amount of them are also said to not actually be good at sports and to just have massive egos. Much like the nerds, the jocks also have a chill counterpart, who are just normal people who are into sports. Somehow, I have even less to say about them than I do about the NPCs, so I'd like to give them a trophy for the kid I have the least to say about. Here you go. Next, we have the quiet kid, another stereotype I've expected to be mentioned more. When hearing the name quiet kid, one might assume that the terms quiet kid and shy kid are interchangeable. That is, if they're an alien who crash landed on Earth yesterday and for some reason speak perfect English. Everyone else knows the quiet kid as the one that's gonna shoot up the school at some point. Common American L. Almost everyone covering this stereotype is gonna mention how you should probably befriend them, so they warn you not to come to school when the day finally comes. Next, we have the blue-haired girl. The blue-haired girl is a stereotypical Twitter user that partakes in either cancel culture, being a K-pop stan, being a dream stan, or a combination of those, and when covering this stereotype, the YouTubers will take jabs at all of the things they choose to mention about them. Also, yes, this is a real stereotype that I have encountered a total of 3 times while doing research for this video. Everyone, I am pleased to announce that we are almost done. Now, we just have to go over the kids with just 1 or 2 mentions which, chances are, I'll have very little to say about. So without further ado, let's finish this fucking video. I've been working on this script for like 2 weeks now. The Musty Kids. They smell bad. Up next, we have the kids that like to rizz up girls. Sometimes the guy making the video will likely shit on them for not giving enough love to the homies. That's it. Moving on. The SoundCloud rappers. They're portrayed as annoying, arrogant dickheads who blast their shitty music in the hallways on their even shittier speakers. There's also kids who just blast music in the hallways. They're called the speaker kids. And finally, we have the obscure ancient mole people society stuff that Jeffrey Blest comes up with.
The 6th type of student is the JROTC motherfucker. The 10th type of student is the one who identified themselves as an animal or something non-human. The next student is the Troll L plus ratio YB better guys. Now the next student is the Eater. Next student is the Mr. Beast clone, aka the YouTuber. Up next we got the Saul Goodman, or in simpler terms, the scammer.
Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Oh wait. I promised to talk about that kid at the end of the video. Oh no. The horror. Just kidding, I'm not scared of the bathroom beaters, aka the guys who jerk off in the school bathroom. You know why? Because where I live, they're virtually non-existent. Again, another stereotype that really makes me question where the fuck some of these YouTubers are from. They also rarely show up in school stereotype videos themselves. Instead, they either show up in videos about school bathrooms or videos about bathroom beaters themselves. So that's it. That was the types of kids and types of kids in high school. Make sure to like and subscribe to any videos on this platform you find entertaining, and I'll see you never unless you subscribe.